Have you ever looked at someone and thought, wow, they seem to get whatever they want in life. Why not me? Maybe it's the friend who always gets the promotion, the neighbor who always looks happy, or the stranger online who seems to have cracked the secret code of success. Here's the truth. Getting what you want isn't magic. It's not luck, and it's not reserved for special people. It's a skill, a learnable, repeatable process that, if you understand it, can completely change your life. And in today's talk, I'm going to break it down for you step by step. Now, before we dive deep, let's clear one thing up. Getting whatever you want doesn't mean snapping your fingers and suddenly driving a Lamborghini, having a mansion, or learning a new language overnight. This isn't a genie in a bottle story. What I'm talking about is something even more powerful. The ability to set a vision, direct your focus, take strategic action, and stay consistent until the world has no choice but to give you what you want. Think about it this way. If you don't know what you want, life will decide for you. And life, my friend, is not always the best decision maker. It'll hand you leftovers. So the first key is clarity. I'll share a quick story. Years ago, a friend of mine told me, "I want to be successful." I asked, "Okay, what does that mean?" He shrugged. Success to him was this vague cloud floating above his head. Guess what happened? He drifted around, chasing random jobs, starting projects he never finished, constantly frustrated because he never felt successful. Why? Because he hadn't defined what success looked like for him. Here's the lesson. Vague desires lead to vague results. Specific desires lead to specific results. If you want a better life, define it. Is it more money? More free time? A healthy body? Better relationships? You have to know the target before you can aim at it. And here's where it gets interesting. The brain has a built-in filter called the reticular activating system. Ever buy a new car and suddenly see that car everywhere? That's your brain focusing on what matters to you. The same thing happens with your goals. Once you define what you want clearly, your brain starts noticing opportunities, people, and resources connected to it. So today, we're not just going to talk theory. We're going to mix in real-life stories, practical steps, and even a bit of humor to keep things light. By the end, you'll walk away not just inspired, but with a toolkit you can apply today. And trust me, you're going to love this journey.
Now that we know clarity is the foundation, let's move to mindset. The truth is, most people sabotage themselves before they even start. They say things like, "I'm not smart enough. I don't have the money. It's too late for me." Let me tell you something. These thoughts aren't facts. They're stories. And if you keep repeating those stories, they become your reality. There's an old saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Mindset shapes action. Action shapes results. Here's a funny example. Imagine a chicken who wants to fly. The chicken looks at the eagle and says, "Well, that's not me. I wasn't born with wings like that." But the chicken does have wings. Smaller, yes, but if it practiced, if it flapped enough, maybe it wouldn't fly as high as the eagle, but it could still soar off the ground. What's the point? Stop comparing your journey to others. Don't wish for different wings. Learn to use the ones you've got. Now let's get practical. There are 3 golden strategies that people who get what they want always use. Break big goals into small steps. Want to write a book? Don't focus on 300 pages. Write 1 page a day. That's it. In a year, you'll have a book. Use habit stacking. Attach a new habit to an old one. Example, you already brush your teeth every morning. Add 1 push-up after brushing. That's how momentum starts. Ask better questions. Instead of saying, "Why is this so hard?" Ask, "What's one thing I can do today to move forward?" Your brain will always answer the question you give it. Let's take language learning as an example. Many people say, "I want to speak English fluently." But then They never practice. They wait for the perfect method or the perfect time. Meanwhile, someone else just decides, I'll listen to a podcast for 10 minutes a day. 6 months later, guess who speaks better English? It's not the person who planned perfectly, it's the person who started. So, here's the formula. Clarity, mindset, consistent action. Sounds simple, right? But simple doesn't mean easy. That's why the next part is crucial. How to stay consistent when motivation fades.
Let's be real. Motivation is like coffee. It wakes you up, it feels great, but it doesn't last forever. If you rely only on motivation, you'll give up the moment things get boring or hard. What you really need is discipline and systems. Let me explain. Imagine two people join a gym. The first one says, I'm going to go whenever I feel motivated. The second says, I'll go every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m., no excuses. Guess who's still in the gym after 3 months? Exactly. Discipline beats motivation every single time. Here's a real-life story. There's a writer named James Clear who wrote the book Atomic Habits. Before he was famous, he just wrote 2 blog posts every week. Rain or shine, sick or tired, he wrote. After 2 years, he had a massive audience, and his book became a global bestseller. Not because he had the perfect plan, but because he was consistent. Now let's tie this back to you. Whether you want more money, better health, stronger relationships, or new skills, the question is, what system will keep you going when you don't feel like it? Here are some tricks. Accountability partner. Tell a friend your goal. Humans hate looking bad, so you'll show up. Gamify your progress. Use a calendar or app to check off daily progress. Small wins trigger dopamine. Reward yourself. Finished your weekly goal? Treat yourself. Positive reinforcement works. Another story. A man named Thomas wanted to lose weight. Every January, he'd start strong, then quit by February. One year, he tried something new. He promised to walk every day at 7 a.m. with his neighbor. The neighbor showed up at his door every morning. Guess what? Thomas didn't want to let his neighbor down, so he walked. 6 months later, he had lost 25 pounds. The lesson? Willpower alone isn't enough. Build systems that don't rely on how you feel in the moment. And let's sprinkle some humor here. I once heard someone say, I don't need a personal trainer. I need someone to follow me around and slap junk food out of my hand. Funny, but true. Sometimes we need external pressure. So now we have clarity, mindset, and consistency. But there's one final step that ties it all together. How to keep growing and adapting when life throws curveballs.
Life is unpredictable. You can plan, you can prepare, and still something unexpected will happen. A setback, a failure, a crisis. So how do you still get what you want when life doesn't cooperate? The secret is adaptability. Think about water. Water doesn't resist obstacles. It flows around them. If there's a rock in the river, water doesn't complain. It doesn't say, oh no, my plan is ruined. It just keeps moving, finding another path. That's how you need to approach your goals. Didn't get the job you wanted. Learn from the interview, apply again, improve. Tried to start a business and it failed. Great, you just discovered one way not to do it. Adjust and try again. Setbacks are not signs to quit. They're signposts pointing you toward a better route. Here's something to remember. Winners don't avoid failure, they use it. Take Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. He failed over 1,000 times. When asked about it, he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just found 1,000 ways that didn't work. That mindset is what makes the difference. Now let's zoom out to the big picture. Getting what you want isn't about shortcuts or quick fixes. It's about defining what you want clearly, believing it's possible, taking small, consistent steps, building systems to keep going, and adapting when things don't go as planned. If you master these, you'll discover that life bends toward your vision, not instantly,
not perfectly, but steadily, inevitably. And here's the funny part. Once you learn how to get what you want, you realize you don't even need everything you once thought you did. Sometimes the journey changes you so much that your original goals evolve into something deeper, something more meaningful. So let me leave you with this. Don't just wish. Don't just dream. Act. Define your vision, build your system, and adapt as you go. And if you found this helpful, make sure to follow this channel, because every day we dive into life-changing insights like this, practical, motivational, and easy to apply. Think of it as your daily dose of growth, delivered straight to your ears. Because you don't just deserve to dream, you deserve to live the life you want.